want to talk about how to get a good sound check, because before you can get things started, a lot of times, man, we shoot ourselves in the foot by hurrying up on a Sunday morning, and we just like get right into the songs or our rehearsal, and we don't take the time to make sure we hear ourselves, that we hear everybody else. And it's so critical, especially if you're the worship leader, especially if you're anybody on the team. But as a worship leader, I know that sometimes if I can't hear my voice, if I can't hear certain things like the hi-hat, like the bass, then I won't be able to find pitch. It won't be able to find the timing. So this is not the perfect sound check, but we're going to go around. This is the way we do sound checks, and it's pretty good.
It works.
Awesome.
So in my opinion, so a lot of times you got to start somewhere. So a lot of times maybe we'll just get a couple vocal mics going so that way we can hear each other. And we happen to have in-ears for this particular event, and we have a monitor guy, okay? Now, back in my home church, I use floor wedges, floor monitors. I don't have in-ears. So, but it's the same thing. I make sure that everybody in the band starts with. So maybe you can start with a couple vocalists, all right? So I turn to our monitor mixer guy. Tell me your first name again. Jesse. Hey, Jesse. So he's your new best friend. because obviously he's the one, he or she, whoever's going to be mixing for you, they got you in the palms of their hands or their fingertips, and they can always pull you down. So just sounds like it doesn't even need to be said, but sometimes we get a little bit under pressure. We're intense, man. Just respect whoever's doing sound, whoever's doing monitors, whoever's doing front of house. Say, hey, excuse me, when you get a second, can you give me a little more of this? Should go without saying, but here we go. So Jesse is our monitor guy, so I'll just start making sure we all will go around. Can you guys hear me?
Got Paul.
Okay, and so everybody in the band will raise their hand if they're good.
Actually, can you bring Paul down just a tad?
Okay. So Michael wants less of me. No problem. No offense taken.
Perfect, thank you.
1, 2, check. 1, 2. Everybody, we go around. Everybody good for starters?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I hear everybody else's mic? Just kind of.
Jared.
Hey, Paul. Hey,
Michael.
hey.
Check 1, 2.
Okay.
Hey, 1, 2. Got me.
You got Ben, Carl.
I'm good.
Okay.
You hear me?
I'll take maybe just a little more of Carl.
Check 1, 2. Hey, Ben needs more Carl.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Okay.
Good.
So once we have a vocal thing, then a lot of times we like to go back to the drums. We start with kick, snare, hi-hat. Carl, at any time, any of you guys, feel free to jump in, sound check wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as remember too, as they're dialing in different things, they're adjusting gain structures too. So even though you're getting a little bit in your ears or your monitor, don't feel bad about asking for something different once you're in the middle of a song or once you're going through a check. In fact, we've already kind of checked the drums a little, but I could use just a touch more of my kick.
I'd use maybe a little bit more of that too.
Okay.
That's good. And
Good,
actually,
good.
can we EQ a little bit on that? I'd take a little bit of that mid-range. I don't know if it's 500, 600. Sometimes in a kick drum, that's a real dirty frequency. Drummers, sound people, just remember, that feels a little better. And maybe just a touch more on the top end. Sorry, I'm being picky on EQ, but there you go.
Pushing the lows too.
I'm getting enough low end, but
Okay, maybe it's my.
this is, and you got to be aware too, if everybody's on ears or your monitors, what you're asking for in an EQ can affect what everybody else has to hear. So you got to kind of work together, like this kind of situation. You can give and take on that.
Right.
And again, you're going to adjust as you play songs together too.
Yep.
So everybody good now with kick?
Yeah, so right now, we're just trying to get a big picture right now, and then we'll dial in a second. But right now, everybody got enough kick drum? Okay, now hi-hat. I'll have just a little bit more, please. So see our hands are up in the air, indicating I'll take more. This means I'm okay. That's okay, that means a little more, that means a little less.
Down a little bit.
Pretty intense. Good?
Cool.
You guys good?
Good.
All right, here comes the snare. A lot of times, the hi-hat mic is going to pick up the snare. So sometimes that's enough for me, just FYI. But I do want to say, the thing about the hi-hat, let's go back. Can you play that, Carl? It's important to have enough hi-hat, and you may not have known this, or maybe you do know, but make sure you hear that subdivision. That's going to be really important once the band is, let's just all just play like a G chord thing over that groove. 1, 2. To keep us in time, we're listening for that hi-hat. Just wanted to make sure that hi-hat, make sure you're getting enough of that, because you may not have known you needed that. Singers, too, background singers, make sure you're getting that. I think it's really helpful so that you don't rush ahead, sonically. So
Take just a little less kick and snare, just a bit less.
So as he's playing, I'd like to point something out, too, that while we're sound checking, like, these guys aren't talking about the football game last night, and these guys aren't like saying, hey, did you see that movie last week? It's like once you start dialing into the sound check, focus. I find that sometimes, especially background singers, not to pick on you, but can really be like, oh, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I just think it's important that at this point when you're doing your sound check, you usually don't have a lot of time. So it's like, okay, let's dial in, let's focus. So I just wanted to point that out. So after we've kind of done drums, you got tom-toms, overheads, and...
Yeah, I mean, you could decide if you want...
Yeah.
A lot of times the other band members, if you give them some overhead mics, they'll hear toms and cymbals. It's up to every individual, but
Yeah.
I think we've got all that already.
You
We're
guys good? The next thing out, bass. Like I'm thinking, I want to hear that groove with a bass. Do you mind just playing that? Okay. So I'm thinking, yeah, I can hear that. I'm good. So I just let the monitor guy. Yep. You good, Jared? Cool. All right, now acoustic guitar maybe. And then where'd you go to, like 6? So acoustic guitar. Just picking a random progression. Anybody want more acoustic? Everybody good? So a little more acoustic. Okay, pretty good there. And then let's think about the piano. Little piano.
Yeah.
Acoustic down just a touch for me.
Acoustic down a little bit.
I could take a little less piano, actually.
Yeah. Split the difference on the piano. You can come back up just a notch, Jess. Yeah.
Beats down a little bit.
Yeah, that's working. Yeah, and this is good too because don't play for 10 minutes if you're dialing in a sound check. You know, sometimes bands just want to jam. Don't jam for 10 minutes. Work with your engineers. Really get that mix. Stop after 4 bars if you can't be clear about what you need to communicate. So,
Right. Really good.
Cool.
So anything else? Anything we're missing? Electric guitar?
Stems, I don't think we got.
I'm going to take just a bit more electric.
A bit more
Always.
electric?
Let's not skate through that too quick.
Sounds amazing. Sounds really good. I can hear that.
Yep.
Do you need anything else?
Do we just check the stems here?
Sure. So stems or loops, okay? Some people call them loops, some people call them stems. And it's basically using your laptop, or most of the time it's on a laptop, and there's sort of pre-recorded drums or, kind of rhythmic things. And these guys are laughing at me. I don't know what the kids call them these days, but back in my day, we called them loops. And I don't mean Fruit Loops. So, it just kind of fills in a little bit. And I don't always use them at my church, but, in certain events, certain situations, I use them. And
I'll just maybe say quickly with that, some of the loops are just a percussive loop that we play to, and some of them we're actually listening to a click track as well as the tracks we stay lined up. So we're hearing just getting both of those things in our ears.
Yeah.
So loops, we're just going to get, it's almost like a click track. Click track.
That
That's
should
good
be
on
rolling
click.
to you there.
I'll have a little more loop, please.
I got plenty of click, but no loops yet.
I have nothing yet.
I have nothing. So we're indicating we want more by the lifting of the hand. Wow, that's plenty. I'll have a little less. Thank you. Thanks, Jess. All right, I want to just hit a little bit of that.
We get just the click as well. We got that.
You got Hosanna, possibly?
I'll just solo up the
2, 3, 4. Should hear the click there.
Okay.
I'll take a little more of the click, Jess. That's good. Thank you.
Good. All right. How about the Hosanna click, possibly? Or loop? Okay.
1, 2.
So there's, I don't know if you can hear that. That's kind of this beginning of Hosanna. Carl's counting off. Praises rising, eyes are turning to you. We turn to you. I'll have a little more loop, please. Hearts are yearning for you. We long for you. Thank you. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day. In your presence, all our fears are washed away. Washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves us, worthy of all. As we're playing this, we're like all kind of listening, deciding what we need to hear in our ears. Hosanna, come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right about there is a good time, like you just do a little bit of a song, and that's where you can maybe just tweak a little bit more and just decide, are you good, Carl? You got everything you
I
need?
could use a little more of Paul's lead vocal.
Okay.
Just a touch.
Anybody else want something different?
Yeah, I'll take more of Paul's vocal as well.
1, 2.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. Wow, yours is pretty hot.
Yeah?
It's nice.
I think another thing on what you're saying is it's important that you start, when you're starting sound check, starting with the open mics.
Yeah.
Especially like the lead vocal
Yeah.
and the background vocals, getting those straight, because as you start checking the rest of the band, the stage volume and bleed, everything starts playing into that. So if you don't start with that, you get a ton of kick, and then you start checking your mic, you're going to have a ton of kick on top of that.
So you're saying always start with the mics first.
Yeah, it's great to start with open vocal mics as a reference point.
What does open vocal mics mean?
Like, as opposed to, like, you don't want to start with that open hi-hat mic. You're wanting just your vocal mics.
Right.
There is no such thing as a closed vocal mic. Like, there's no pickup you can put on your throat.
I just wondered if it was a term. I want to make sure.
Nah, I just made that up.
Open vocal.
Pretty cool.
Openvocal.com.
Yeah.
Hey, Jess, could I get a little more drum overheads in the drum mix, please?
Any other quick, that's good, Michael. Any other things sound check wise that in your experience you're like, man, here's one more thing, or Jared, any of you guys?
Just one quick thought on. Go.
Keeping your mics, like if your drum, I mean, if my mic is pointed straight at the drums,
In
I'm
trouble.
going to be getting a lot of drums. It's good to just try and angle your mics away from, vocal mics especially, angling them away from the drums. The cymbals particularly will overtake a vocal mic very quickly.
That's really good. That's really good. Everybody get that. Make sure your mic, if you can help it. Now, normally, of course, we're all facing together. This would be like a rehearsal. Like normally I'd obviously turn around. But we're kind of doing this because it's a good way to have a rehearsal. Many times I'll do that during rehearsals. Turn my mic this way, and that way I'm facing the band. So just make sure the mic isn't like right in front of the splash cymbal or something like that. So that's a great point.
Yep.
Jared, any other thoughts or?
A lot of guys play, will request wedges or have play one ear in, one ear out
Yeah.
to kind of feel the room.
Yeah.
Which is not really great for your ears, but I understand like leading, you really want to have a sense of where the room is.
Right.
Sometimes, as a player, if you're backing up a leader or you're not leading, it's really good just to have both ears in, really focus and harness it, harness your sound and dive in on that and leave the kind of the crowd feel ambiance
Yeah.
for whoever's leading so they can kind of lead well.
Yeah.
And so you can play well.
A good solution to the open ear thing for those a lot of singers want to feel the room. You could get in ears that have a more open back rather than something that's sealed so tight.
Yeah.
And that way you got great monitors and you're getting, like you said, you want to try to keep both in ears in if you're doing this so you don't get hearing damage.
Yep.
But you can find them where they do open up the back more. So
Another trick, of course, is if you are using in-ears, having a mic or two that's like discreetly pointed towards the audience, and you ask the monitor guy for a little bit of that in your ears. That way, like Jared said, as a worship leader, it can be odd. If you can't hear people singing, it's hard to get a sense of where the room is and what where you need to go. So very, very important.
yeah.
Any other thought, Ben?
I'd say just if you are using open wedge monitors, to err on the side of not tons of volume at first. Because if everyone's it can become an easy volume battle with everyone's wedges on stage. One person's wedge is really loud. Half the stage is hearing from that. They're wanting more of themselves in their wedge. So just erring on the side of just as much as you need as opposed to cranking
That's good.
open wedges.
That's really good. Start off. Don't expect to get 100% of what you want monitor-wise. Like I find that, if you can get 80% of what you want, be happy with that. Get it close there, but don't get all frustrated and be like, I still can't hear myself, and all I hear is the drums or blah blah blah. It's like, man, if it's pretty good, then like at some point you have to go, okay, we got to get started.
Yeah.
But do take as much time as you can. That was the point of this little exercise here, is to say, take the time to hear yourself again from a worship leading standpoint. And if I can't hear myself, if I can't hear the timing, if I can't hear the players, and especially if I can't hear my voice, the pitch, man, it messes me up. And instead of like relaxing in my spirit and being able to just freely kind of encourage people and do the things that we've been praying about doing that week and longing to see people connect, man, it becomes instead, I'm just fighting to get through the song. I'm just like, I can't hear myself. I wish I could. I can't hear myself. It's almost over. If I can just make it through the song, Seriously. And it's just like, I've been there, and it's frustrating because you don't feel like, Yeah. And it all goes back to just taking the time this time. So, cool.